So every couple of months or so, some sort of exam or test block manages to pop up. Now, what is the one thing you dream of during exam time? For me, it usually starts with a thought of accidentally walking past the exam answers lying on the footpath with a little bow on top. But apart from that, I would always have my fingers crossed that I would wake up one morning with a photographic memory. Now, I've got some friends who could honestly recall the 40th word of the 23rd page of a random textbook, but unfortunately I don't have that same ability. Now, as much as studying is about learning concepts, sometimes there are just ridiculous facts that we're expected to know, and they are in no way applicable to real life. So that kind of led me to researching memorization techniques, and today I'm going to go through the best ones I've come across. G'day guys, Jazz here and welcome to today's video. Now, raise your hand if you struggle memorizing all the nitty-gritty details that you have to learn for all of your exams. Yeah, so me too. So today I'm going to run through some memorization techniques and hopefully that can kind of assist you with your studies. So technique number one is link it. So try and connect the information that you're trying to learn to something that you already know. So when you study material in isolation, it is much harder to remember than material that you study that's related to other concepts. Now, if you can't think of a way to connect the information to something else that you already know, make up some sort of crazy connection. For example, if you're trying to say memorize the number of segments within the internal carotid artery, for me, I could remember that my favorite number is 7 and make some sort of weird association there. And then the next time I think about it, I'll just think about my favorite number and 7 and it'll just come to me quickly. So number 2 is interleaving. So interleaving is the idea of mixing or alternating between concepts that you want to memorize. So for example, you could start by studying a bit of anatomy and then, say after an hour or so, you might switch and do a bit of physiology. And then after another hour or so, you could decide to, add in a sprinkle of pharmacology just to make it interesting. So this method might seem a bit confusing to start with, just kind of going through multiple different topics, and you might feel initially like you're not really consolidating everything, but there is evidence behind it to suggest that is a very effective method in improving memorization. And it seems to yield much better results than just studying the same concept for prolonged periods of time. Number 3 is distributive practice. So for a concept to move from your temporary working memory to your long-term memory, you need 2 things to happen. The concept should be memorable, and then it also needs to be repeated. So use repetition to firmly lodge the concept into your memory. Then also space out your studying and repetition over several days and start to increase the interval or time between each study session. Now, concept number 4 is sleep on it. Now, studies have shown that your brain really works well to consolidate and store knowledge into your memory while you're sleeping. So try and review a bit of information right before you go to sleep, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes of just flicking through some, flashcards or, quick concepts, and then kind of see over time how hopefully it should consolidate and you should remember that information more effectively. Number 5 is self-test. Now, quiz yourself by actively trying to recall the information that you've been studying and storing in your memory. It's important to make sure that you're actively quizzing yourself rather than just reading mountains of text and just rereading all the information and not asking your questions without the facts in front of you. And that kind of goes in nicely with my previous video that I made about active recall. And if you haven't seen that one, definitely give it a check. Then this will enable you to identify the areas that you're weak in or where your actual memory or recall is a bit deficient, and you can focus on that area and improve. And also avoid quizzing yourself directly after trying to memorize something. The consolidation process obviously takes a bit of time. So, give yourself at least a few days and then try and see how good your recall is after that. Now, number 6 is mnemonics. Mnemonics can be a bit hit and miss, but obviously creating mnemonics for the various, lists of certain names or, organisms or whatever that you need to recall. A lot of the time, I find that it's more useful for stuff that really doesn't make sense and you're just kind of just really learning lists of information. So mnemonics can be useful in that sense. I'd have to say the mnemonic that I've never forgotten or always kind of sticks to my mind is kryto, which is the ossification centers of the elbow. Let me know in the comments down below if there's any mnemonics that you found overly useful. And the last one, which is number 7, is talk to yourself. Now, I know you don't want to be that strange person who's sitting in the corner of the library by yourself and just kind of talking out loud, but this is a really good one. So try reciting facts out loud rather than just, rereading or highlighting or whatever. It's a much more effective memory tool. So guys, they're probably the best memorization techniques that I've come across. They're very helpful during study and learning all those vast amount of information that you need to learn during medical school, or for specialist exams and all that. These techniques kind of go and help in all those kind of scenarios. Some of them might seem a bit strange to start with, but give them a go and let me know how you went. If you liked the video, guys, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't previously, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.